Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Now, there are a lot of reasons that this Epstein scandal is not going away for Donald Trump. One of them is this. He and his administration keep behaving every day like they have something to hide. I mean, Trump himself cannot keep his story straight about Jeffrey Epstein. And the more it talks about it, the worse it seems to get. In his attempt to spin another version of how he broke up with the late child sex trafficker, Donald Trump said something truly disturbing about one of Epstein's victims.
That's such old history, very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that work for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
So that was Trump yesterday at his Scotland golf resort, which, by the way, he's promoting flying there on the taxpayer dime, saying he stole people that worked for me. Did he really mean that? Today we learned the answer was yes.
People were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
That was audio that we got from Air Force One. We had only the audio. Spa or not spa, don't take my people. So Donald Trump now says that he ejected the world's most notorious trafficker and abuser of minor women and girls from his life because the guy kept stealing his spa workers. You split up the friendship 15 years because he was grooming and recruiting your staff to go abuse them, but you didn't do anything about it? It's a very strange thing to say. It's also a narrative that, like so much with Trump, has just this little kernel of truth buried inside it.
Virginia Roberts was working in the spa at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach when British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell introduced her to multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein.
The training started immediately. I mean, it was everything down to how to give a blowjob, how to be quiet, be subservient, give Jeffrey what he wants.
That woman, who later changed her name to Virginia Giuffre, was 16 when she was indeed recruited from Mar-a-Lago by Maxwell, not Epstein. And after breaking free of Epstein, she became a really outspoken advocate for her fellow victims. She led them in multiple lawsuits. Giuffre died by suicide earlier this year. So was she who Trump was talking about?
Mr. President, did one of those stolen persons, that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her.
Yep, he stole her. Definitely the worst thing that Jeffrey Epstein did was hire someone away from Donald Trump. That is Donald Trump referring to the teenage sexual assault victim recruited from his club by Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. He stole her. And so that's why the two men stopped hanging out. Well, actually, probably not, since we've got actual timestamps on all this. Virginia Giuffre left Mar-a-Lago with Ghislaine Maxwell in the year 2000. Trump was still socializing with Epstein long after that. In fact, it was just 2 years later, after Giuffre was recruited out of the spa, when Trump told New York Magazine in 2002 that Jeff is a, quote, terrific guy, a lot of fun to be with. It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. It was 3 years later in 2003 that Trump would reportedly send a birthday letter scribbled inside the hand-drawn outline of a naked woman, a letter that said, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Enigmas never age. May every day be another wonderful secret." It's just Trump constantly shifting between multiple accounts that don't add up. I mean, remember this, okay? In Trump's first term, it was widely reported that Epstein and the future president fell out in 2004 after they ended up in a bidding war over an oceanfront Palm Beach mansion. Back then, Trump was also insisting Epstein had never been a member of Mar-a-Lago. But then journalists from the Miami Herald and Wall Street Journal reviewed a club registry showing, aha, Epstein had, in fact, been a Mar-a-Lago member all the way until October 2007, long after he was already under federal and local investigation for sex crimes. In fact, multiple club members told reporters that Trump severed ties with Epstein after the disgraced financier hit on the teenage daughter of a Mar-a-Lago member, threatening the Trump brand of glitz and glamour. So after that report, Trump changed his story, started telling people, yeah, he was a member and I did throw Epstein out of his club. But he never went into the reasons for their falling out. Until today, it still doesn't add up, any more than the previous stories he's told, all of which he grafted onto the back of this news story yesterday.
It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women. And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
You gotta love Donald Trump patting himself on the back for not going to Jeffrey Epstein's island. So what story he's trying to tell? Like, the files are fake. They were run by the worst scum on the earth. They might have put stuff in there. I never wrote that letter. I'm suing Rupert Murdoch over it. Again, it's not just a rhetorical question. It's something the Trump administration officials are wild.
In a startling revelation, President Donald Trump has reportedly diverted $934 million from a critical Pentagon program aimed at modernizing America's aging nuclear missile silos to fund the renovation of a luxurious, gold-adorned airplane acquired from Qatar, intended for use as Air Force One during his presidency and potentially as a personal asset afterward. This transfer, detailed in an obscure Pentagon document sent to Capitol Hill, has raised alarm among congressional budget analysts who suspect the funds are being redirected to an unnamed classified project, with Air Force officials privately acknowledging that the money is being used for the airplane's refurbishment. The decision has sparked concerns about national security, given the deteriorating condition of the nation's ground-based nuclear arsenal, and has drawn criticism as an example of misplaced priorities amid broader governance challenges. The United States maintains thousands of nuclear weapons, many housed in underground silos across the northern Plains states, including Montana, Wyoming, and North Dakota. These silos, primarily constructed in the 1960s to house Minuteman intercontinental ballistic missiles, are Cold War relics designed to counter threats from the Soviet Union. Strategically located inland and northward, they allow for early detection of incoming threats and rapid response capabilities over the Arctic Circle. However, a recent Air Force review revealed that these decades-old silos are crumbling, leaking, and unfit to safely store live nuclear weapons. The review underscored the urgent need for new silos to ensure the safety and reliability of the nation's nuclear arsenal, a costly but necessary undertaking if the U.S. continues to maintain its nuclear stockpile. Instead of prioritizing this critical infrastructure, the $934 million transfer has shifted funds away from the modernization effort. The renovated airplane, which Trump reportedly plans to retain for his personal use after his presidency, possibly as part of a future presidential library, has been described as a lavish project featuring gold inlays. Critics argue this move exemplifies a pattern of prioritizing personal luxury over national security and public safety. The decision comes at a time when the Trump administration is facing scrutiny for other governance missteps, particularly in aviation safety. Recent incidents highlight a troubling trend in air traffic management. In North Dakota, a commercial pilot narrowly avoided a mid-air collision with a B-52 bomber conducting a flyover at the state fair, with no apparent warning to either aircraft. Days later, another commercial flight experienced a near collision, forcing the pilot to execute a dramatic nosedive to avoid disaster, prompted only by automated collision avoidance alerts. In Denver, a plane carrying 173 passengers and 6 crew members caught fire, necessitating an emergency evacuation. Most recently, Newark Airport, a major hub, was forced to delay flights due to insufficient air traffic control personnel, a consequence of the Trump administration's decision to terminate hundreds of critical Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) staff members early in his term for undisclosed reasons. These incidents underscore the challenges of governing a complex federal system, particularly when resources are diverted from essential programs. The nuclear silo modernization project is not a discretionary expense but a necessity to maintain the safety of weapons capable of catastrophic destruction. Similarly, the FAA's staffing shortages have compromised the safety of millions of air travelers. Critics argue that Trump's focus on personal projects, like the opulent airplane, reflects a broader disregard for the responsibilities of governance. As the nation grapples with these issues, the debate over maintaining a vast nuclear arsenal continues, with some questioning whether such weapons are necessary at all. However, as long as they remain, their safe upkeep is non-negotiable, a principle seemingly at odds with the administration's current priorities. The controversy over the $934 million transfer is likely to fuel further debate about leadership and accountability in Washington.